Name's Filip Leu. I'm a tattoo artist, second generation. I come from Switzerland. Started when I was 15.
There must be something wrong with me. What it is, I can't quite see. I can't seem to do.
Another sunny day in Paris. It's a subject I've been painting for many years. I like a lot. I don't see it as a negative. I see it more as a positive in the sense of a reminder that life is short. One should make the most of it. As for, why skulls? I don't know. I was left to choose as I like, something tattoo related. So, it's a classic. Everybody likes a skull pretty much. The approach I used on this was layering. I started out very light gray and just worked in successive coats, bringing it closer to the end, stopping when I got my blanks in. So yeah, it was a couple of weeks of work, 10 days or something, Just layering is the main way I do it. Very light tone, do the whole thing once, little settle, do it again. Getting darker, each pass bringing it down deeper and deeper. India ink, talent to be precise. Cut with water, sumi style. It's diluted with water, make very light. I've always done it, I've gotten better at it over the years. The better you become at something, the more fun it is. First and foremost, I call myself a cartoonist, a graphist is where my heart was when I started. I love comic books and always have. I love stories told through images. I love the black line. Never really been a realist of any sort. I've always chose to, if I'm not designing for tattoos, which are image-based artwork, I like to do imaginary, surreal stuff, preferably over I would never sit to paint a landscape. I'll paint something I see in my mind's eye. I prefer it. If I'm painting, I like to go my own way. I'd rather invent something that hasn't been, rather than try and reproduce something that is.
And how does this correspond with tattooing, where actually you...
It doesn't. Maybe that's why I like it, because tattooing is, like I said, I consider tattooing a form of cartooning. It's to render things recognizable by everybody. And it's linear-based art, like a comic book. Tattoos have outlines, and so yeah, very strong graphics, if you will. And I enjoy that too. I like black and white, pen and ink, even brushwork, different disciplines. The only discipline that I've not really pursued as much, I have done a few, is realism. It's, I don't know, maybe after the invention of the camera it became less fun. It's a very difficult thing, realism, because everybody knows what an eye looks like. Everybody knows what a face looks like. So if you don't quite make it, it shows. If you're painting something nobody's seen before because it lives in your head, nobody can see your mistakes, or not as easily. I heard a quote I liked a lot, and it stuck in my mind, is that a tattoo artist is someone that is forced to create on demand, in public, and with a time limit. Three things which are maybe not very inducive to creativity. Tattooing is a performance art almost. Painting, you are free. I think none of my paintings finished. They're more like abandoned. It's when to stop working on it is the hard part. Tattoos have a definite end to them. When the person says enough, or when the skin is full, it's done. Paintings are never finished. It's very, very difficult to know when to stop, but not to overwork a painting. Tattooing is a very physical practice. It's quite exhausting, mentally and physically. It might not look it, but it is difficult. So yeah, you know, I can definitely foresee a future where I slide more into fine art. I don't think I'll ever stop tattooing, but to be able to paint and for at my leisure at home in my environment is a very attractive prospect, absolutely. At the moment we're having a family show in Saint Croix, a local museum offered us a space for half a year. We managed to put in half the show we designed. We ran out of time and funding. We were trying to build a massive sculpture. We were going to have over 300 pieces of art in there. Over 20 members of my family got together, but we managed to get 150 pieces up. 2017 we'll be moving the whole thing to Nantes in France, a place called Lieu Unique. We're going to build a freestanding box of 10 meters by 4 meters high. Just cover it with paintings on the inside. You have to walk inside the box to look at everything, 4 walls. I would say a better understanding of colors, which is pretty much the seasoning. If you imagine painting like cooking, color choices like the spices and the seasoning. So hopefully I try to get more subtle with my colors as time goes by. A little more experience in the mediums, how to actually hold a brush and stuff like that. But I think, you know, you get into art pretty quick. You find what you like. It doesn't take you very long. It'll take a lifetime to perfect it. But who you are is pretty quick, I think. You know, you find it happens. It's what you do. Art has many approaches. I don't plan my pieces as much as, for example, this project, the skull project. This I drew small first. I approached it more like a tattoo. The triptych, I sketched it out quite rapidly, and then I redrew it, and I blew it up, and I used that as my guide to do these ink drawings. A lot of my acrylic paintings, I don't even know what I'm going to do before I start, and it's kind of an adventure. So it's a little a more loose approach, I would say, less regimented and more open to happy accidents. And then if you get a good accident, you kind of follow it to its conclusion, but I kind of like that. I've always treated art as the opposite of tattooing for me. Somewhere where I can just let my hair down and do whatever. I painted for myself more than the others. I believe that as an artist it's good to train and practice, and even though what I paint is more abstract and colorful, what I learn there is what I use in my tattoos in a roundabout way. If I may not use the same images, I will use color comprehension, I will use composition or flow. It all bounces off each other. I mean, it's all one big bag. It's just different heads of the hydra.
So, I see you have some very nice prints here from Mr. Filip Leu. Yeah, I've known Filip for a very long time and seen this, artist grow and define himself and redefine himself. And here he's done a collection of skulls I think everybody will say he's pretty well known for. So we have an incredible likeness which is done through building up screens upon screens of grey. So I think you'll enjoy to look at these. You can see all of the collection here on the wall. The titles are Stop, Look, Listen. There we go. Stop, Look and Listen. The mouthy one, the looker, and shut your mouth. Great work as always from Filip Leu.
Yeah, you know, I went to Japan when I was 17 and was absolutely influenced and blown away by the style of Japanese tattooing, and I've stuck with it. I'm not a traditionalist as such. But if one talks about the new trend to work with rotaries, I don't subscribe, or the new trend for hyperrealism, I don't subscribe, or... No, I've tried to stay true to what I like, and you can't learn something overnight. It takes years. You got to stick with it. It's quite difficult, actually, when I look at the magazines and I look at the work. You feel like, wow, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing and I should be doing like them, but I try not to. I take inspiration from people like Horiyoshi. I've watched his work my whole life, and he is not subject to trends, but he's on an evolutionary curve. I've watched his work go from extremely bold to very fine and detailed in a long, steady progression. That's an evolution of a style without worrying about trends at all. So yeah, I take inspiration from that and try and stay true. You know, where does one get inspiration? From my friends, from people I admire. It's almost too numerous to mention, you know, be it Mick, Luke Atkinson, Mike Roper, Bill Salmon, Mike Rubenthal, and the list, Kurt Wiscombe, I mean, Paul Booth, the list goes on and on. It's growing, the amount of amazing artists in tattooing. So yeah, I wouldn't say inspiration, but the drive to keep working is a form of maybe competitiveness, might be a word. I want to keep up with the pack, you know, I want to play. Inspiration, I tend to go to a lot of Japanese art books. I try and look for the source, where I used to copy the other artists, and now I try and look at what they were using, be it Hokusai or Hogai or Kyosai or whoever it may be, you know. I like looking through books of Japanese art, and other art too, but more of the Oriental, because it's already linear. They've already got it down for woodblock prints, which is they had to cut this out of wood to be able to print it, so they kept it kind of simple. Even though some of them are highly detailed, but the general feel, and it's a form of cartooning that I recognize and I identify with, so I find it very easy. And some of them are not woodblock prints, some of them are hand paintings, sumi paintings, dragons and clouds, and so there the trick is to translate them into a linear version for tattooing, which is kind of fun. But over the years I've found there are people's sources. It's kind of very cool to go back to the source and make your own version of it. You wonder where the source got it from. And it goes back and back and back and back and back. Somebody had to do the first dragon, right? You know, I don't know who that was, but it's not fun, a good thing. Absolutely, you know, some things, a lot will depend on the subject. It's not like it's the same paper. Every skin has got its own particularities. And you have to, as I've been tattooing over the years, you learn to recognize, I can do this on this skin. Something I couldn't do on a different skin. If the skin is very strong, I might push a little harder on the lines, and so they'll spread out and give me a nice thick outline that I know I cannot do that on a very delicate, very pale skin. I have to be more careful because the line won't spread, it'll blow out. So yeah, it's subject to each person, it's case by case. And that's what you learn over time, to recognize this is going to be like this, it's going to be like that. So yeah, you know, but like I said, the machines are the same. Actually, it started out with hand tattooing, then it went to rotary tattooing, and then it started with electrocoil, electromagnetic. And now a big part of the industry has gone back to rotaries. I started with a rotary and I moved on to the coil. I'd rather move on to something new rather than go to something I knew before. Yeah, in a way. Not that it's bad. I've tried some of these new rotaries. I just find myself quicker with the coil because I'm more adept at it. I've used it longer. It's more forgiving in many ways. But once again, there's as many ways to tattoo as there are people tattooing almost. We all have our little things we do. There is no standard, really. There is a general standard, but the refinements are really up to the individual. All the time. One of the hardest lessons I'm trying to teach myself is less is more. It's really hard to simplify. The simpler you make something, the more your mistakes jump forward. You can hide behind a lot of sparkly bling bling, too many lines, too many highlights. Yeah, trying to simplify. Definitely. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to see Hardy's book, the big purple one. It's got this amazing back piece, Freeway Panther. It's a really simple back piece. This guy could stand at the other side of the swimming pool and you could see it. It's all art. That's the part that the tattooing, you know, is quite simple. The machines we use were patented in 1927, I believe. A really simple system. My father came from a family of artists and taught me a lot. He was my first art teacher, and he taught me a lot about art and simple things like flow and contrast. It's something that's really important, and longevity of design and these things. So the part that keeps learning is the design. That never stops. The technique, I wasn't happy at first. I actually developed a larger needle grouping that nobody used before me, which I'm happy to say I managed to influence my profession. Like the 25 or 35 magnums when I started, nobody knew about this and nobody tried it. Now, everybody uses it, and that's because of me. I can actually say that, you know. So yeah, I got the tools to where I want them. Now there's always an evolution. There's a guy called Ion Needles. He's making these amazing new needles. They're like arranged in a circular pattern, and they're hollow in the center. There's a grouping. Make these really big lines without doing too much damage. So there is an evolution, I suppose, in the industry as well still, but slowly. The one that I constantly work on is the design aspect of it. Getting the right design for the right body on the right person. Different designs for different people. Different designs for different skin. Different designs for different lifestyles. Is this a Nordic Scandinavian who will never go in the sun, or is this a sun worshipper? You've got to do different work for the two different kinds of life. So yeah, design never stops. I've always been a homebody, and even when I lived in the cities, I lived at night and I lived in the apartment. I've never really been a big outdoors or socialite, so to speak. I've always been home or in the shop, basically. So moving to the country, it's been coming on 15 years now. It's nice. I enjoy the peace and quiet. I still have a steady contact with tattooing, but more controlled. It's so far away. But otherwise, little has changed in the sense of I've always lived the same way. Very build my own world and live in that. Comfortable. Never been a barfly. And discotheques, well, you know.